Our most popular stories on CNN.com, making that your connection of the day. You're back with Connect the World here on CNN. Now, after hearing her final plea in open court, jurors are now deliberating her fate behind closed doors. In less than 2 hours, we're going to expect to hear the verdicts in the trial of the American exchange student Amanda Knox, charged with murdering her British housemate in Italy. Paula Newton's covering this trial in Perugia. Paula.
Becky, we now know that the jury has come up with a verdict. We expect to hear from them in less than 2 hours. And it's safe to say that for many people connected to this trial, Becky, this day must have seemed like a lifetime. Amanda Knox abandoned the poise and calm the jury is used to seeing to make one last impassioned plea. In Italian, her voice trembling, she told the jury she was frightened, terrified of losing her way. I'm afraid of having the mask of an assassin forced on me, she said. The year-long trial of Amanda Knox is supposed to answer the question, who killed promising British student Meredith Kercher? She was found dead in November 2007, sexually assaulted, her throat savagely slashed. The 21-year-old left to bleed to death in the home she shared with Amanda Knox.
We have to continue to hope that she is going to get a fair trial. It looks like the judge and the jury are really paying attention, and so we have to hope.
For more than 2 years here in Perugia, investigators have been picking apart this case, bringing in forensic experts, criminologists, psychologists, and yet those close to this investigation tell CNN they still are no closer to knowing the truth. That doesn't stop anyone from having their own opinion as to how these 4 young lives converged. Kercher allegedly murdered in her bed during a sex-fueled sadistic attack. Rudy Guede has already been convicted of the murder and sentenced to 30 years, but the prosecution accuses Knox of masterminding the crime, exacting revenge on a housemate she hated. So much so, the prosecution claims Knox slit Kercher's throat as her former boyfriend, Raffaele Sollecito, held her down, and Guede sexually assaulted her. Journalist Barbie Nadeau has been covering every development in the case.
Especially at the very beginning, before the trial started, the portrayal of Amanda Knox was that of an angel-faced killer, this blue-eyed girl, this American assassin.
Now, the families of both young women, Becky, are on hand right now. It is, for obvious reasons, incredibly tense. But I can tell you, Amanda Knox's family told me several weeks ago that if she is found guilty, they have their hopes on the appeals process, and members of the family will move to Italy to support Amanda Knox. Becky?
Paula, have a listen to what we're going to hear next, because I want to come back to you. Knox's family and friends say that the prosecution's portrait of a manipulative, vengeful woman is not the loved one that they know. Elisa Hahn has more from the student's hometown of Seattle in Washington.
For 2 years, Amanda Knox has been either in jail or in court, fighting the legal battle of her life. Her family in Perugia and here in Seattle is hoping beyond hope it will be over soon.
You know, this is supposed to be the end, and we're hoping that it truly is the end.
Più vulnerabile davanti a voi.
Today, the 22-year-old told the jury she's scared that the mask of an assassin has been forced upon her. She even thanked prosecutors for seeking justice for her roommate's murder, but she says they have it wrong.
We all felt incredibly proud of her, and we know how difficult it was for her to get up and do that.
Her friends at UW say it shows her character.
And how she was able to thank the prosecution who has been so cruel and vicious to her. That's the kind of person she is. She's so strong, and I really admire that.
One thing that worries her family is that the jury was not sequestered.
They go home, they go online, they talk to their family and friends, they read newspapers, and the Italian newspapers have not always been nice to Amanda.
With Italy 9 hours ahead and Knox's future soon to be revealed, her relatives in West Seattle say the anxious waiting game has already begun.
I'm just going to hang on to my BlackBerry like it's, a lifeline.
Lisa Hahn reporting for you from Seattle. We got more perspective on the trial a short time ago from CNN's legal analyst, Lisa Bloom. She is in Los Angeles, and this is what she said.
It's been 2 years for Amanda Knox, and I've been waiting and following the evidence, looking for some strong evidence against her. I just don't think it's there. I don't think the prosecution has a case against her beyond a reasonable doubt. Yes, she's engaged in some strange behavior, worst of all, giving conflicting stories to the police right after her roommate died. Yes, there is some DNA in the house linked to her, but it's a house that she lived in. And overall, the prosecution's case seems to me to be preposterous. It just doesn't make any sense, and I don't think the evidence is there to support it.
What's your thought on the way that the case has been run in its entirety?
I think the trial overall has been fair. Of course, there are differences between the Italian system of justice and the American system. For example, in the United States, Amanda would not be allowed to speak during her attorney's closing argument. A trial would not proceed 2 days a week and take over a year. She would not be imprisoned a year before being indicted. But these are minor differences. I think she has had a chance to tell her side of the story. Her witnesses have been presented to the jury. And so I'm going to trust that this jury is going to do the right thing.
Lisa Bloom reporting for us. Let's get back to Perugia then, and our reporter there, Paula Newton. Paula, you heard reaction from Seattle. You're in Perugia yourself, and you've just heard our legal analyst there out of Los Angeles. Your thoughts?
You know, Becky, this case has really behaved like none other than most people can give voice to, that can reference. You know, our legal analyst talked about reasonable doubt. Anyone hearing this verdict, just put that out of your mind. Here in the Italian justice system, even if there is reasonable doubt, they can still convict you. They expect to deal with a lot of those issues that our legal analyst brought up in the appeals process. That is what has been so unnerving for the family of Amanda Knox. And you know, one thing that really struck me when I first came here, Becky, is that, look, even the jury coming out to have coffee in the cafes around me, they spoke to everyone. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, or should I say illegal about that. They certainly have kept their peace in the last few weeks as, you know, it's intensified. But it has created a dynamic here that in other courts of law, people might say, look, that can't possibly be a fair trial. On the other hand, as our legal analyst pointed out, when would a defendant really be able to stand up and make their plea of innocence? It's going to be a long night, Becky, I can tell you that. And as I've said before, covering this investigation, those closest to it are still saying we still don't know exactly what happened that night.
I'm right in saying, Paula, we are expecting a result from the jury within about an hour and a half. Is that right?
Probably more like 2. Look, I can tell you from the lineup I'm looking at right outside the courtroom right now, I see hundreds of people just even by the time we all get in there. I'd say it'd be more like 2 hours. This is going to go late into the evening. As I said, it's going to be a long night.
All right, Paula Newton's in Perugia. Stick with CNN for the result from the jury there. And we're taking a look, I'm being told, if we can bring them up, of live pictures. Are we going to see those live pictures out of Perugia? They are up now, I'm being told. So live pictures there outside the courthouse. The Amanda Knox trial coming to a close. We are expecting the jury to deliver its verdict, as Paula said, within the next hour and a half or 2 hours. CNN will be right across that story for us. Stay with us for that. Now, incredibly beautiful and perhaps incredibly fragile. Beneath all this gleaming white, something very dark appears to be unfolding. The cold, harsh reality of global warming. Up next.